Happy Tuesday. We are thinking today about the fact that Jesus Christ is seated in heaven. He is our high priest, and he is seated in heaven. So there's three offices in the Old Testament that God works through to sort of safeguard and develop his people. Kings, prophets, and priests. King was the best job. Wasn't a great job, honestly, but it was probably the best job. Prophet was the worst job. Prophets tend not to be very popular, tend not to have a lot of friends. Priests, so all of these, by the way, Jesus perfectly fulfills. He's the new and better king, right? The king who's going to rule in the footsteps of King David. He is the perfect prophet. Prophets are those who speak for God to the people. He's the perfect spokesman for God. He is God. His very words are the words of God. Priests are those who speak to God for the people. Prophet speaks from God to the people. Priest speaks from the people to God. I am not a priest, by the way, so we don't use that language. Very significantly, when we're serving communion, I don't step in front of the communion elements. I'm not putting myself between you and God. We would recognize that Jesus is our high priest. I'm a pastor. It's fundamentally a teacher role. There's a priestly component to what I do, absolutely. Praying for people and trying to, fundamentally praying for people and bringing concerns to God. So I don't want to dismiss that. But I call myself a pastor. That's the language that we use. Jesus is our high priest. So here's a significant thing. It says, if then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. So a priest, sort of symbolically, is not to sit down during a religious service. You see this in the Orthodox Church in particular. As a matter of fact, when I was in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has a big Orthodox church. And when I was there, I bought one of the long sticks that it looks sort of like a crutch, although it's taller than that they use to prop up a priest. So literally in these services, because the services can be long, it seems like all the priests that I saw were quite old. The priest is not allowed to sit down until the work is done. So they literally, as the service was going on, someone would grab a stick and would go and would prop this kid. So by the end of the service, they've got like 10 of these sticks. So the priest is standing there, but he's got all these sticks that are like they're like stakes in the ground that are holding him up so that he can keep going. So Jesus is our high priest, but he is seated in heaven. He's seated in heaven because his work as a priest is done. Now he continues to intercede for us in heaven. He continues to intercede with us. He is our high priest in heaven. But there's a sense in which his sacrificial work of being the atonement for our sins has been completed. And so this is a great opportunity to rejoice and to celebrate what Jesus has done for us. And I had a chance this week, got a phone call from somebody who was with their aunt, who was very close to them, like a mom, and she was in her last hours of life. And he would ask if I would share with the family by phone. Couldn't go to where she was. And I often share that we have this wonderful, in Acts 8:2, this wonderful little verse that says, righteous men buried Stephen and wept. If you read through Acts 7, you see that Stephen gives this great speech. He's one of the first sermons. Partway through the speech, he's not done with his sermon. He is stoned by the people. He says to them, this is who Jesus was, but you killed him. The people get mad and they stone him. But in the middle of that stoning, he reports that he sees God, Jesus in heaven, standing to welcome him. So we have Jesus seated at the right hand of God the Father all this time, but here he is standing to welcome Jesus into heaven. And so be encouraged. Jesus' work is done, but he stands to welcome those who are faithful to him. Again, today, set your mind on things above, not on things in earth. We'll come back to this one last time tomorrow. Have a good day.